Today, a drive-by shooting took place outside the home of Representative Lee Zeldin. Stacey Abrams claims no one knows when a pregnancy begins, and another family-friendly Pride event took place at a Texas Methodist church. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and I am, and I would like to make one thing clear. I am always right. It's just a talent I have. I am joined today by host of the Chad Prather Show, America's favorite cowboy, Chad Prather.
I lean left, but I'm always right.
But you're always right, yes. Also joined by BlazeTV contributor Alex Stein, host of Conspiracy Castle, and also Alex Stein. And what's on your tie?
I think these are guns and bowling and whiskey. I think it's a Big Lebowski vibe today. This company sent me some free ties. I'm giving them a free plug, but I actually like them. Emerson Bespoke. So I don't know. Maybe check them out. I don't care. We're gonna get in trouble for because they didn't pay for advertising dollars.
No, that's a nice tie.
It's okay. It's nice, but hey, listen.
It holds the suit together, man.
It's just I like the red. I like the color pattern. It's very patriotic, and I'm feeling patriotic. I've been all over the country. I just got back from Chicago, and I didn't get shot, so I have faith back in American values.
Yay, inner cities! I came back from one, and I didn't get shot. That's great. What a high bar we have here.
Speaking of getting shot.
Speaking of getting shot, over the weekend, 2 teens were injured in a drive-by shooting that took place outside Representative Lee Zeldin's home. He has had really bad luck lately. He and his wife were at a Columbus Day parade in the Bronx. His 2 16-year-old daughters were at home alone. After hearing the gunshots, the girls ran upstairs and locked themselves into the bathroom and called Zeldin, reportedly crying. And the 2 individuals shot have been identified as Joel Murphy and Elijah Robinson, both 17-year-olds from Mastic, Long Island. A high-ranking law enforcement source said the teen victims were known to the department and had been at a recording studio on a reservation in Suffolk County that is known for gang activity. And they reviewed the home security footage of Representative Zeldin, showed one wounded victim laying down underneath their porch, another person shot laying down under a bush in front of their porch just a couple feet away, a third person moving all around the property up and down the porch a couple of times. And reportedly, the one of the bullets that went through the window landed like 30 feet from where one of Lee Zeldin's daughters was sitting. Now, I say he's had bad luck lately because we covered on the show just a couple months ago. He was attacked during a campaign speech by a man shouting, "You're done." It was a very odd moment. Those of you who are watching the show can see that screenshot, that still image of the man. He seemed to be, I don't know, I think reports afterwards were that he possibly was drunk, but he seemed to be moving very slowly and said, "You're done." It was a very awkward exchange. And of course, bystanders were able to subdue him and he was ultimately arrested. But, it's interesting because he is running against Kathy Hochul on an anti-crime platform. Who can blame the guy? He keeps getting his life and his family's life threatened.
You go back to that picture, if they'll pop it back up there, of the guy that came up there with the little knife or whatever it was. Like, Lee maintained some composure in that deal because, look, he fought the guy off with one arm. Yeah. He kept the microphone in his left. Now, as me, I'm going to be whacking that dude with that microphone. You can do some damage with a microphone. No, it could have been a tragic situation with his daughters in the house. It was a sad situation, and apparently any situation like that. But, when your daughters are at home, they had to lock themselves in the bathroom, call 911. It's a scary deal. All the more reason we got to get this guy moved to Albany. We got to put him in the governor's mansion. He's in a dangerous neighborhood.
Yeah, apparently.
Folks in New York better step up.
I mean, I think a lot of neighborhoods in New York are dangerous right now.
Yeah.
I know how to solve it, though. We take away everybody's guns. That's how we do it. So as long as
Get rid of the guns.
Only the criminals and the cops in the military should have guns, and then all of our problems will be solved.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing.
I kind of feel like New York is one of those places.
But the problem with that is it's always your mistress's husband that's going to wind up keeping one too, and that's going to be problematic. Yeah. I feel bad for the people in New York. It's just like California in that you've got people that are really good there, good values, good places to be, beautiful country. They're just getting screwed by bureaucracy.
Yeah, I mean, I just, my heart goes out to the people who are still in cities, but it's like, Get the hell out of cities.
Well, I want to make this point because, it was after 9/11, everybody, rallied around New York City. And I thought America was kind of on a positive, trajectory after that terrible event. But after what's happened with the pandemic, America goes the way of NYC, and NYC is just going in the crapper. So it just kind of stinks because I think extrapolates from that city to the rest of the country. So if that's going in the crapper, then the rest of the country is headed with it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many people in New York actually vote for Lee Zeldin. But you got to believe that Kathy Hochul is going to win out, even though, again, we're talking about being incredibly relaxed on crime. We're talking about even when there are criminals who, like that man who attacked Lee Zeldin, he was charged and then released without bail. So. Yeah. It's not like they're penalizing any of the criminals in the first place. So you get to a certain point and you're like, all right, well, maybe you deserve this fate for continuing to vote for the Democrats who are, you don't think so?
No, I just sad. No, I think that
it is
exactly
sad,
what's happening. Yeah, no, it's just deteriorating beyond all recognition of what it was.
And if you don't agree with that, again, get the hell out of the inner city because the Democrats are going to do to New York what they've done to San Francisco, what they've done to LA, what they've done to Chicago, what they've done to all of these other places. It is just really sad to see. So speaking of sad to see, yesterday Stacey Abrams appeared on Fox News, and she's just going all in with this abortion rhetoric, with this rhetoric that no one knows anything about pregnancies. We don't have any sort of scientific consensus on, what that thing is that's growing in your body or anything like that. She says it's a fallacy that we know exactly when a pregnancy begins. Watch.
Where would you draw the line? 15 weeks, viability, 36 weeks? What's the limit?
What I've always said is that abortion is a medical decision that should be made by a doctor and the woman, and that the point of viability as determined by a doctor should always take into consideration the life and health of a woman. That should be the standard. But the arbitrary standards of timelines ignore the medical reality that it is a fallacy. We know exactly when a pregnancy starts, that we know exactly where we are in the system, in the term. And what doctors will tell you is that they need to make decisions based on the woman they are treating. And what women will tell you is that they need the right to make medical decisions that can save their lives and save their ability to control their bodies and their futures.
So she may have had me if she wanted to make the argument that we don't know when viability begins, right? And that's what is the fallacy. She's saying we don't know when a pregnancy begins, which I feel like if you have participated in any sort of basic biology, sex education, reproduction class, you pretty much know when the pregnancy begins.
I know when it begins. That's why I paid $25 office copay and got a vasectomy 12 years ago. I know exactly when it begins, but she's apparently a better doctor than Joe Biden. She knows all this stuff, biologically speaking.
Yeah, by the way, I don't think she has kids.
Yeah, and no mention of the dad.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, oh my gosh. They'd be great athletes. They'd be in the NFL. But it's neither here nor there. I mean, she's built like the Empire State Building. Yeah. She probably would have been a good athlete herself. But neither here nor there about Stacey Abrams' collegiate athletic career. My point being is no mention of the father. And these people are now just using an abortion where I posted this video on Twitter about how they're glorifying abortion, calling it murder. It's just, I want abortion to go back when it was a thing that a college person did in the dark and they never told anybody. But now it's used for clout, and now these politicians are campaigning on it. And it's really just sick and demonic, and it seems like we're regurgitating the same thing, but for her to even consider a clump of cells not a life, or that the baby growing inside them is going to be like a dog or something. I mean, it's a human life. And they try to disregard that and say that it's health care when we don't even care about the baby's health care.
But can you imagine, though, the logic that goes into being a black woman in the deep South who's going to speak out about what and who is not a human? I mean, and take it back to, the 70 years ago, the Jim Crow era, and even further back to the age of slavery in the southern states of the United States. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to continue to make an argument for who's not a human being.
The lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. It's interesting because at the beginning of that clip, you heard the interviewer ask, 36 weeks, 37 weeks, will you put a cap on what you think is acceptable in terms of how and when a woman should get an abortion, and they never do. You know, you try to tell them like, hey, let's agree that late-term abortion is a thing that we, like, I would love to go all the way, but if we want to compromise on something in the meantime, let's agree late-term abortion, really bad thing, we shouldn't do it. And their argument is, well, no one's getting a late-term abortion. Well, that's not happening. That doesn't happen. And it's like, okay, well, let's set a limit then. And they never seem to want to agree to setting a limit on that. Case in point, on Face the Nation yesterday, Arizona Democrat gubernatorial nominee Katie Hobbs also refused to say if she supports any limits on abortion at any point in the pregnancy. Watch.
And under a Kari Lake administration, we would have government-mandated forced births that risk women's lives. And her position is the one that's extreme. It's out of touch with where the majority of Arizonans are who support access to safe and legal abortion. And under her administration, women would not be safe.
What would the Hobbs administration's week limit be for abortion access? If it's not 15 weeks, what is it?
What is it?
Look, abortion is a very personal decision that belongs between a woman and her doctor. The government and politicians don't belong in that decision. We need to let doctors perform the care that they are trained and take an oath to perform.
So if an Arizona voter were to conclude from your previous answer that you do not favor any specific week limit on abortion, would they be correct?
I support leaving the decision between a woman and her doctor and leaving politicians entirely out of it.
Great. No answer.
So,
got it.
You know, first of all, Katie Hobbs sounds like a girl at the mall who just left the food court to go over to see what's new at Spencer Gifts. And so the fact that they're willing to use this type of rhetoric to just for political gain, and just, I'm gonna baby. You know, it's like a squeaky toy in a dog's mouth just to get elected.
Yeah.
The idea that this woman has any shot in hell against the caliber of person that Kari Lake is insane to me. But that's how far the left's willing to go in order to pander and to make sure that their radical political hack job agenda stays alive.
And by the way, to be fair, you know, she's refusing to debate Kari Lake. If I were her, I wouldn't want to debate Kari Lake. I wouldn't get in the same room with Kari Lake.
And you know, when they survey people, even people that are pro-choice, I say this all the time, even staunchly, overwhelmingly, people believe there should be a limit. So it's like the heartbeat bill in Texas now. I'm anti-abortion, but I mean, it's not what I want. I understand, you know, there's, you know, it's what the people want. So if we had to make some sort of capitulation to the mob, at least there should be a limit, but these politicians want to do it all the way up until birth, which is ridiculous. So it doesn't even make sense.
You know, if you get on Twitter, they want to kill full-blown adult conservatives. So, I mean, why would babies be off limits?
Well, I mean, I also think that there is something to be said for this story and the story at the beginning that we just talked about, kind of going hand in hand. We've just completely desensitized our society to valuing life at all. If you can kill the most innocent of lives in the womb, when they have absolutely no other choice but to rely on their mother, who is supposed to be the one to take care of them, why would you value a life once it left the womb? Why would you value that? This is what we're teaching society, so I don't think that it should come as a shock to anyone.
Look, look at the pattern, right? Okay, so if you can call a baby a fetus or protoplasmic blob or a clump of cells, or you can take a full-grown conservative and call them ultra MAGA or MAGA Republicans, or you know,
extreme
you start
MAGA,
labeling people. You're dehumanizing. And so whether it's Stacey Abrams or Katie Hobbs or whoever it is, they're dehumanizing. It's all part of the classification, the labeling, and put them in the box, and we'll exterminate them if we need to, not deal with them at best. But it's all for the sake of political convenience.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. So the consumer price index is increasing yet again. Much fun in store with the Biden administration. And the stock market has obviously been in complete turmoil. So look, what are they doing to actually help combat inflation? They're just spending more money and adding to the burden. You cannot bury your head in the sand while your savings get decimated. You've got to do something about it. And that something is going and talking to Birch Gold. They have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They've got a ton of 5-star reviews, thousands of satisfied customers. You've got to text the word Y to 989898. Now, what you're going to get is a no-obligation, free information kit on protecting your savings with gold in a tax-sheltered account. Historically, gold and silver has been a great way to make sure to diversify and protect your savings. You cannot allow the left to devalue those savings. Text the word Y to 989898. Again, there's no obligation, no reason not to do it. That is the word Y to 989898. Over the weekend, there was a family-friendly Pride event at Grace Avenue United Methodist Church in Frisco, Texas. This is right around the corner from us here. A good 25 minutes from here, very, very close to my house. And the event was the Pride Frisco Block Party. They had food trucks, live music, vendors, and LGBTQ resources. There were a ton of kids, at least, this says over 50. I would say at least double that because they were coming and going. They didn't stay, necessarily the whole time because I was there, of course, in a pink wig. Just to blend in.
Do we have a photo of that?
Oh, yeah, no.
I do.
Oh, wow. I do, too. Yeah.
You guys do.
It looks good. I thought it looked good.
I was like, where's the party?
Yeah, it reminded me of a rave. I thought we were going to a rave.
I used it later when I got home, but that's neither here nor there. So obviously the signs said, there were signs posted all around that said no photos or videos permitted. Again, I don't understand why, because if you are doing family-friendly events, you're putting on family-friendly events, what's the problem? What are you hiding in this particular instance? I would also like to point out it was also a furry-friendly event, and there was
who's this guy right
here? At least one furry in attendance. Watch.
Look at that!
Wow!
Look at that.
What a crazy event! They let these guys in. This is disgusting. You see the Proud Boys. That's good.
You're protesting my lifestyle.
Wow, this guy is mentally insane. This person really needs some mental health therapy.
I'm just a furry at a Pride event.
Just let him hang out.
Let me be free.
Wow.
Please stop protesting me. Are you single?
Wow, this is insane.
If I'm looking for a partner, if you're down,
look at that. We have furry on furry action. At least it's family-friendly furry action.
You say it's family-friendly. So here's the thing. Was this as egregious as drag queens standing on tables above young children, dancing provocatively? No, but it was the small little things that they injected into it that you go, I don't really think kids should be reading that, like flyers with different pride flags for children to read about different gender identifications, including bear. Yes, there is a bear gender identity, asexual, demisexual, and intersex. There were also these stickers that, were totally free out there on the tables for kids to go through, sift through, grab, that featured like a naked woman that was laying on her back, and you could see all the outline of her breast and her nipple, and then these, mouth looking provocatively, biting on the lip with the tongue out. And so it's just interesting because I don't understand why you would have to have, it was like a pumpkin patch. Why does a pumpkin patch have to be tied to an LGBTQ family-friendly event? Why not just have a pumpkin patch?
Why does this have to happen at a church? Why does this have to happen with children? Why does everything have to be sexualized? Why does any of this have to happen? What is the point? And look, I get under the name of, they're going to say, well, it's about inclusion and and affirmation and make sure that everybody feels welcome and all these kind of things. But come on. Listen, I go to a reasonably heterosexual church. At no time are we trying to affirm their heterosexuality on Sunday mornings.
Right.
We're not. We don't bring the kids into children's church and be like, you know what, kids? Let's talk about your genitals.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, we
I
don't pass out
sure
stickers.
You know that you're heterosexual. So let's talk about that.
I mean, we've never pulled out the three little bears and said, let me tell you where Little Bear came from. Right. We just, why?
Yeah.
Why is this a thing?
It's weird, and I know Alex was like, well, this is fun. Everyone's nice, right?
Well, this is why, because if you just go there, objectively, it is fun, but it kind of reminds me of when I have to feed my dog medicine. My dog doesn't want to take a pill, so what I have to do is I have to crush up the pill and I put it in a McDonald's hamburger, and then the dog loves it. So my point being is they have this really cool pumpkin patch, there's cool, mascots, there's free, inflatable stuff, and then they just kind of like pop in some little hidden, here's a brochure on how to come out, or here's some, literature on different sexualities. That's not necessarily kid-friendly. So that's the only thing for me is like they kind of, there's a little hidden indoctrination in there. But overall, no, I've been to these drag queen events. This was actually very, I don't even know, not controversial in my opinion, other than a million pride flags and some weird literature. But
which I think almost makes it more controversial because
in a way,
they're trying to draw your kids into this like, look, there's no drag queens dancing on tables.
Yeah.
There's no one showing. Well, there were people showing their skin, but like, we're not doing that. We're just having a fall pumpkin festival, and you're like, oh. Okay, and then all of the people that you're surrounding yourself with. There was some questionable outfits.
It's subliminal
there.
indoctrination.
It is subliminal indoctrination.
And to be fair, listen, no one sitting at this table has a problem. We're all libertarian enough. We don't care who you sleep with.
No.
We're consenting adults. We don't care. We don't care.
Which is why you don't need to make it LGBTQ.
Exactly.
Everyone is already welcome.
That's not the issue at all. We're all for inclusivity. We're all for affirmation. We're all for people feeling good about themselves and stuff like that. Whether you agree with somebody's preferences, orientation, lifestyle, whatever, we can still love you. Mm-hmm. But come on.
Yeah.
Why do we have to continue to drag this stuff in when you know good and well what's happening? Like you said, the best phrase, it's subliminal indoctrination.
Yeah, absolutely. At least there is some good news when it comes to the transing of our children. Vanderbilt Pediatric Gender Clinic said that they will pause all gender transition surgeries on minors. Vanderbilt also told Tennessee lawmakers it would protect conscientious objectors who work at the facility and don't want to take part in these controversial treatments. Obviously, we've covered it on the program. This comes after Matt Walsh did his deep dive into Vanderbilt Gender Clinic and found out all of these, there are these speeches that exist of people explaining that this would make the clinic a lot of money. This would make Vanderbilt a lot of money. There was a lot of money to be had. Don't worry about the kids. They might miss their genitals after you cut them off, but the hospital can profit off. The hospital can profit off of it. And they also said that if you objected, if you didn't like it, that you shouldn't be a part of Vanderbilt and you should go somewhere else because they would not allow anyone to object to this. So now they are reversing course and they are stopping the surgeries on minors, and they are going to, they claim, protect conscientious objectors. And Oklahoma also recently passed a bill that withholds COVID relief funds from the University of Oklahoma Medical Center, where they too were providing gender-affirming medical care to minors, which includes puberty blockers, gender-affirming hormone therapy, and helping find surgeons who perform gender-affirming operations for patients just up to age 24. But there's no...
Isn't it funny that over the weekend, PayPal, quote-unquote, accidentally released the thing about taking $2,500 from your account for misinformation, and people got up in arms and started canceling those accounts because they care more about their $2,500 than losing their balls. Like, I would think you would protest the other.
Yeah.
Way more vehemently than $2,500.
You would hope, at least.
Yeah, and obviously, the conservative mindset, this isn't a conservative idea, but this for-profit medical system that we have that just, basically exploits people, and now they're literally exploiting children. Because even this Vanderbilt doctor even said that they like it because there's a lot of follow-up visits. I mean, and then on top of that, if you think about cutting off genitals, and this is basically an open wound that wants to close, literally. So they have to dilate it, they have to have, special meetings. It's not even funny. I'm just saying. That's a lot of treatment. So
it is an open wound.
Yeah, no, and so it's just sad for me that we have, and we're the only country that can even run pharmaceutical ads like, oh, take this antidepressant medicine. Other countries can't even do that.
I'm sitting there watching football last night. And do you see the Moderna commercial that's been coming on?
Yes.
There's no side effects listed. There's no potential side effects listed at the end of the Moderna commercial.
Yeah. I also saw...
What's up?
Because there's no liability. They don't have to mention it.
I also saw HIV medication ads, and I'm like, I don't want to explain to my son.
But why do you have to advertise the HIV? You know what? You don't have to choose.
You get it. You're gonna go get
I gotta take that medicine. I don't. No, I don't want that. I don't want that.
I'm thinking I'm Google searching.
Yeah, I don't think I need the commercial to design my HIV medication, whether I'm taking it or not. But
that's pretty much a guaranteed customer right there.
Yeah, it's just the for-profit medical system has created an industry of people that are afraid to call an ambulance and that have died in Ubers because they can't afford it. So I don't know. I'm not saying healthcare should be free, but there should be some sort of caps, or the government's spending $80 billion to Ukraine. Why don't you put some of that and help people that that are struggling here? So I just feel like we need a reallocation of our funds.
There is so much I could get into with that because that is my background, but we can't because we got to take a break. First, I want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. So food shortages are going to be very real. It's not just Joe Biden, the leader of the free world, who is telling you there are going to be food shortages. It's also farmers who I think would know whether or not there are going to be shortages. You've got to be prepared. You don't want to wait until it's too late. You got to go to preparewithnews.com. You can get a special 20% discount on a 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. You're going to get breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, and snacks. And this can keep your family from suffering. You got Joe Biden over there talking about, some sort of nuclear war with Russia. I'm really telling you guys, this is the type of thing that you want to make fun of all of these preppers for having all of this emergency food supply, but where are you going to go when the nuclear apocalypse happens? Where are you going to go? You're going to go to your friend's house who actually ended up being smart and getting the emergency food supply. And do you know what they're going to say? No, you made fun of me. You don't get any. So you've got to go to preparewithnews.com, take 20% off. It's going to ship fast and free so your neighbors can't mooch off of you when the time comes. That is preparewithnews.com. Over the weekend, an explosion destroyed part of a bridge linking Russia and Crimea. The bridge was highly strategic for Russia and a major military supply artery to Putin's forces in southern Ukraine. Here's a short video that caught the explosion on camera. Those of you who are listening, it's very obviously a bridge that just gets the middle of it completely destroyed. And you can see some cars left in the wake. A lot of sparks there. 3 people were killed, and Russian authorities say a truck bomb was the cause of the explosion. And video appears to show a wave beneath the bridge just before the explosion set off that big fireball that you saw. There were theories that Ukrainian special services were behind the attack. Bless you. Another theory is that the truck driver was a suicide bomber funded by the West and Ukraine. They say
the Jeffrey Epstein
Putin called
theory.
it a terrorist attack by Ukraine and threatened harsh reprisals.
So
Jeffrey Epstein.
The Jeffrey Epstein, the bridge killed itself. The suicide bomber.
The truck drove itself out there in the middle and detonated itself.
Yeah, that's what it did. I love that theory.
So things are going really well. Nothing to be concerned about. Do you guys remember when I just said stock up on emergency food? Because we're
talk about pissing your money away. We did that. Man, I'll tell you what.
How much has it been now?
It's over, well over, what, 120 billion?
It's a lot. I know that, and I know that money could go to...
I just know that if I had $120 billion to spruce up the place, my house would be lit, right? It would just be fire. It's so like, the things we could do around America, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. With that kind of money?
Yeah.
It's insane. And people want to always say to me, they're like, oh, are you pro-Vladimir Putin? I'm anti all of them, including the U.S. federal government right now. Like, the U.S. government might be worst of all. Mm-hmm. I mean, no, Vladimir Putin's bad. Vladimir Zelensky's bad. All of them are bad. We got to keep sending them money, though, because Zelensky knows all the secrets for the U.S. politicians, and they're afraid he's going to spill the beans, so let's keep funneling the cash over there to him and taking care of it. And people say, oh, yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. We've been funneling money and laundering money through the Ukraine for decades now, and every U.S. politician that's in there, they know all about it, and that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So let's blow up another bridge to take our eyes off of it.
Yeah, it is. It's very frustrating as taxpayers funding all of this to see this happening for so many years and just watch our money just be pissed away and not be able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Has there been any other newscasters like that have a host a legitimate news show that has talked about pissing it away? I like your style, Sarah Gonzalez.
It's just
way better than Brian Stelter.
Way better.
Well, that's why my show's not getting canceled and Brian Stelter's
and you don't look like a thumb.
I hope not.
But I do want to say this, this bridge, and then you look at the Nord Stream, pipeline. They even say that Russia, attacked itself. So Saul Alinsky, the rules for radicals, one of the rules is, to accuse the enemy of what they accuse you of. And it's just so obvious that America's fingerprints are all over this war. And now we were talking about it, and I think we'll go over the selective service tweets are coming out, like that they might have to have a draft. These people are globalists, and right now the world we live in is more of a corporatocracy where corporations are running things, and they want this war because it's good for business. And seeing this happen now, this bridge, I think this is just, the escalation is just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Well, I mean, speaking of war and the Selective Service, you may recall as soon as Biden took office, he enacted an executive order that said that those who identify as transgender should be treated by the military according to their gender identity and not their biological sex. Well, the administration's requirements for who must register for the draft include people that identify as transgender but are born male. The requirements from the Selective Service system say U.S. citizens or immigrants who are born male and change their gender to female are still required to register. Individuals who are born female and change their gender to male are not required to register.
Listen, swimming on the girls' team is always fun and games until a world war breaks out.
It's almost as if there's no denying biology, and there are biological differences between men and women.
And somebody should tell Stacey Abrams that there's the thing called biology.
Biology,
too,
it's a thing. Maybe
people
we
are
should.
Born, then what they're born as. So, yeah.
I love this so much.
Well, I'm enjoying it.
Let me put
so
on my
good.
tinfoil hat, too. It's like now you see this because you see how one group's marginalized and one isn't, because you don't have to worry about the female to male getting drafted, but you do have to worry about the male to female. So I wouldn't be surprised these sick and twisted people want some sort of draft where they have to draft all the transgender men and leave all the transgender women out of it, or vice versa, however it works, just to make the trans community at odds with each other. I wouldn't be surprised. That's how much they hate us. They want us to all fight each other. They're going to have the trans men and the trans women fighting each other by the time this is all over.
I really want to see a backlash to the Biden administration from the trans community.
They should be protesting in the streets about this.
I know, because they're trans women are women. That's what we're told. Oh, except you're not, and you're going to the front lines if there is a war, so the joke's on you, bitches. In late September, Kyiv city government asked residents to wear masks on public transport in places that serve clients and in educational facilities. So in light of surging COVID cases, Kyiv's deputy health minister, Igor Kuzin, warned that an increase in COVID would strain the health systems already struggling due to Russia's invasion. And he said that the new masking suggestions would be hard to implement because most Ukrainians were focusing on another enemy.
That and the fact they're already wearing gas masks. Like, how are you going to put an N95 underneath that nuclear fallout mask and the whole thing?
I mean, I don't mean to laugh.
It's a clown show. And you know what I said earlier talking about Ukraine? Listen, it's the Ukrainian citizens that you feel bad for. I've been to Ukraine.
Right, exactly.
Numerous times. There are great people there. I mean, all over the world. That's what we always say, right? Chinese people, there's wonderful people. There's the Chinese government. There's wonderful people in New York, wonderful people in California, wonderful people in Ukraine. They're getting screwed by bureaucracy across the board. It's a clown show.
It's almost like the government thinks like, oh, well, we'll just talk about COVID and bring up this other problem, and these people will forget they're in the middle of a freaking war with Russia.
They're dropping bombs on Kyiv. You think they're worrying about COVID right now?
Yeah, but imagine how dystopian that is. You're getting bombed by a world superpower, and they're like, hey, go get in the vaccination line. I mean, come on, wear your mask.
Well, I mean, it helped in the hurricane,
Yeah,
Alex.
Exactly. You're right. That is the safest thing to do in a hurricane.
The safest thing you can do in a hurricane is make sure you're vaccinated.
And a World War III. That's so weird that I think in a World War there's going to be a vaccination clinic open and a mask, free mask for eternity.
Like, I want to cuss right now. Like, I want to say like things the way I say them, and I can't. It's like we live in a generation where they're like, we haven't tried that for a while, so let's try it. We haven't tried it. I was watching a movie about a boy who was World War I, and this boy really wanted to go to the front lines. He lasted like a day, right? And he realized my dad was right. This whole thing. Guys, listen, we live in this weird age where we've had so much luxury. Mm-hmm. And, back in 1914, when World War I kicked off, a lot of people were really fighting to go to war. I mean, they wanted to go to war, but there was this humanistic philosophy of humanity and how people were inherently good. World War I changed all of that, right? So maybe we're due for a good World War. Just to remind people that man's inhumanity to man is still a real thing. It's viable. And the rest of the world doesn't think like you do at the mall and the food court. Yeah. And they don't care about your Apple phones and whether or not you're getting service. They don't care about whether, your latte was made with the right amount of half-calf non-fat milk. Mm-hmm. They don't care. The brutalities of that may be what we need to save the world. I don't know. Yeah. Because right now where we're headed is a clown show of just eternal proportions.
Yeah, I think that you're right. And I think just to add to that before we go to break, I was talking not that long ago about, we have an entire generation of young people who have no idea what it was like to experience 9/11, which I think is a very important perspective to have when you're talking about, we could be going to war any second. Like, we could get attacked right now in this building and just be completely decimated by, someone who wants the West to fall. And it's very dangerous when you don't have that perspective to lean on and remember that it could all be over in a second, because instead you've got entitled brats who are just worried about iPhones and all of those things.
Yeah, and they want to bring it on. Right. Let's do some World War III. I mean, yesterday we cared about climate change, but no, a nuclear holocaust would do great for the environment.
Well, it's the instant gratification. That's why we're addicted to it, and that's what's the biggest problem with society right now.
Yeah, so we got to take a break, but I want to tell you, those of you who are watching on YouTube, we love you, okay? We see you, we love you, but you're going to want to switch over to BlazeTV. Alex is he's been, show Alex waving.
See you guys.
We're going to be talking about COVID vaccine research from the Florida Surgeon General that YouTube will deem misinformation. So if you have not yet subscribed, you're not going to want to miss this. I'm telling you. Make sure to go subscribe at BlazeTV.com. Use promo code NEWS for some savings, and we will see you over at BlazeTV.com.
Come on.
World War III is happening.
Less than a month to go before the midterm elections, and Joe Biden's approval ratings are a complete dumpster fire. Fewer than 1 in 4 people think America is going in the right direction. 63% think the U.S. is on the wrong track, and his approval rating is less than 50% on every single one of the top 10 issues Americans care most about.
You're wrong.
No, wait.
Where are you going, Chad?
Joe.
No.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to do the Joe Biden back away from the press thing.
Oh, I like that impression.
COVID-19, environment, racial inequality, employment, unifying country, international trade, taxation, economy, immigration, corruption, all under 50% for Joe Biden. It is not looking good.
Don't forget reparations. I don't think you put that. That's more important than Joe Biden.
I don't think that's a top 10 issue.
I'm going to get mines.
Yeah,
it should be. That's a top 10 issue. Well, it is bad out there for Joe Biden. So we'll see what happens, and we'll be covering it all, by the way, election night here on Blaze TV. Stay tuned for more details on that.
I'll be here.
Will you?
I will.
Batman Biden.
Creepily scoot back?
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see you tomorrow.